We have a special featured artist, Joe Peters. And Joe is a talent plus. Joe is a product of Holyoke Community College in Massachusetts, my home state. He was introduced to glassblowing. Later, he studied flameworking at Snow Farm. He is highly respected for specializing in sculpture of natural life forms. Now, we all know that, don't we? Maybe there's a few that don't know this. As an avid scuba diver, Joe has been heavily influenced by wildlife and the natural world. His solo work and collaborations have been featured in galleries and museums around the world. Joe has been highly sought after instructor, and we really value you being here, and we appreciate the time you're giving to our students. Friday was a beautiful demonstration. Now I'm going to go home and make cats. This is, you know, but let's let Joe. I have a few other things. Joe is based in Colorado, where he joined in the Everdream studio by several flame workers, including 2016 IFC featured artist Eugene Goins. So, Joe, we're so happy you're here. You know, crank it out.
Good morning. Thank you guys for coming. So today I'm gonna do a clear hammerhead shark. If there's any questions during the demo, please holler them out. Yep. It's the rest of the cat. Yeah. It was whatever was in the cabinet that looked closest to what I needed. I think it's like it's probably 44, something like that, medium. So right now I'm just dividing the sections I'm going to need to make the shark. This is going to be the main section of the body. This will be the hammerhead. Then I'm gonna divide up some solid for the fins and handle them up. So I have 16 mil right now, solid rod. I wanted 20, so I'm going to gather it up a little bit. Okay, so I started furnace glass, so a lot of my core techniques are just with furnace glass tools. I love diamond shears, and yeah, I have a little bit different style because I started with furnace glass. And I did a lot of solid sculpting in my early years. I didn't do too much hollow work at all, so yeah. So I gathered up wad clear and divided it into 2 equal parts. For these are going to be the side fins, and now I'm marvering it into a cone, and I'm going to flatten it, and that'll be my prep for one of the fins. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger than I think I'll need because it's easier to take away and tear off later than it is to make it bigger. What's that? Carlo Donia. What kind of shears were they? They were Carlo Donia. Yep. So those will be the side fins. Now I'll do a gather for the dorsal fin and the tail fin. Oh, So I've been scuba diving all over. I started when I was 20. I was living off the coast of Honduras and bartending on an island for about 6 months and just diving every day. And that's when I came back and had to get serious about something, and glass was it, but my head was still in the ocean. So, and I just thought it was the perfect medium to portray like sea life, because it's got that shiny quality and the saturation of color and just a lot of elements that are very that glass just work really well for portraying. But I just was diving about 3 weeks ago in Colombia, and that was really good. But I've been all over Malaysia. I haven't gone to Australia yet, but yeah, diving's my favorite thing. Besides in glass, diving in glass. I mean, it depends what color. Some colors are more temperamental. If it's a color that's primarily clear, I would put them in the kiln. I'm going to stick them in the kiln before I use them, if that's any. But I kind of want to show with this project, I don't what you can do without using the kiln really as to make a big piece, because a lot of what I've been doing recently is so complex. You just need to go back and use the kiln to relieve the piece in between moves. So it's like you come out, you do a move, and then you put the piece back in. Oh no, that's worse. So this piece, I'm gonna get all the components I need, right? I'm gonna blow out my form for the shark. I'm gonna make the head, establish that starting point from the head, and then make the piece all in one shot from A to B. So this is gonna be for the tail fin. I'm not shaping too much. I don't like to shape too much the like appendages before they go on. I find when you do that, if you make a bunch of parts fully done, unless you have that proportion perfect, it can either look a little not lifelike, or it's just the little proportions off or whatnot. But so I'm just kind of getting the basic shape of these, and then when I attach them, I'm really gonna shape them more. So this is gonna be the back tail fins, but it's pretty simple looking right now. Yeah, so when I was diving, I encountered sharks in St. Croix, and I was really nervous. And then I just back this past trip got pretty close to one, but it wasn't huge. And then I also saw a nurse shark, like a huge. It was like I think like 9 feet. It was huge. This little guy, Smith's Custom Tools. This is a kid who came through my shop a few weeks ago.
So you have a bunch of pieces. You're known for your sea life and honey theme stuff. At what point do you start making different themed pieces, and how do you know what you want to make? Do you make things that you think will sell, or what you personally would like to see made?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess we just do what we feel we need to do as artists and to continue and make a good living. I mean, when I started glass, I needed a job. So when I started glass, I loved it so much. I was like, all right, now I just got to figure out how I can do this for the rest of my life. The honey thing, like the sea life thing was just what inspired me, what I like to make. Sally Prasch is here. She's my first teacher. And from the second I started, I was making little creatures. That's what I wanted to make. Making little bugs and praying mantises and, so that's what I like to do. And I got well known because of doing what I like to do. So you have to have the confidence to be an artist that you're going to make stuff that people like and people want. I never try to like play the game of what's gonna sell really hot. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that is a factor for sure. And sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. So that's kind of how it is. You know, I don't play the game of just trying to guess what people are gonna like, because they don't know what. Most people buying art don't know what they like. They need to be influenced a little bit to know what's popular, what's cool, and what they think they see is popular is what somebody, you know what I mean? How somebody else who's confident in their tastes, you know. So. Just a different thing. Sculpture can only get you so far with portraying an idea. I mean, sculpture is a great way to portray an idea, but then there's this whole 2D world of paintings and everything, and there's just a lot of ideas you can express 2D that you can't express. That are a little more difficult to express 3D, and especially when you're dealing with glass, you're dealing with tons of limitations of engineering. So. And there's just different it's just the disc flips is a whole new world, and it's a kind of it's just something that hasn't been done too long. And there's lots of potential in it. So the disc flips, the reason I'm doing disc flips is just to widen my abilities, and I'm kind of someone that's never really sat into one area too long. I kind of do something, I need to go on to do something else, and then I'll pick back up with that thing later on or whatnot. So I kind of have a wide skill set. That answer? All right. All right, where are we on time? 10:10? All right, cool. My favorite artist? Ooh. Favorite glass artist or favorite artist? Favorite glass artist? I mean, Banjo is definitely like one of the best. But I mean, there's so many, man. I can't. That's not even fair. It's like. Favorite artist outside of glass? Well, I really like this dude, Chris Dyer. I went to Peru with him in December, and he's kind of real colorful. You would say, like, I mean, he's kind of in this visionary artist category, but his work really speaks to me recently. Yeah. Yeah, 6. I just turned up the oxygen pressure a little bit more. I like to have a little bit more powerful flame on this. Not powerful, but just a different atmosphere. It's a little bushy. So I'm going to add a little connection for a bridge. It's going to be right where the dorsal fin is, so you won't notice it later. The post is a little bridge I'm going to use to clean up this seal right here when I make it. It's going to go where the dorsal fin goes, so I should be able to clean it up real nice. Or you won't notice it. I'll take it off and stick something else there. So I'm just throwing a little flame annealing on this part where I connected that bridge, just to relieve that. Now I'm going to work on this head, and I get where the head all squared away, and then I'm going to handle up to the face, and then I'm going to work the whole thing that way. I've done, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, maybe 10 or 12 hammerhead sharks. This is my second one out of clear. I'm doing like kind of this big. Yeah, I mean, I have the whole process planned out ahead of time. I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable, but I mean, doing it in front of all these people in a demo is a little nerve-wracking for me. So I'm trying my best. And I'm not killing it. Hopefully, I'll killing it later.
Well, here.
Do you want me to ask you? Or?
Yeah, what is-
Okay, so when you're shaking that head, like, how many of those moves are...
Intentional?
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, the carbon buildup just happens when you use that propane flame. I typically like more like a Bunsen, and I've been using a Herbie, 40 mil Herbie, and it's honestly, if you get that with the air, compressed air, it's so nice.
Joe, someone's asking, when you're glass blowing, obviously you have a step-by-step process, but how often are your moves intentional, or you're just working with the glass to do what it wants to do?
I mean, most of the time you're trying to make it do something. There's a lot of things in glass that you're trying to, in glass you're trying to do with it what it wants to do, so it's happy. And I think when you try to make it do what it doesn't want to do, that's what it gets really hard. But I mean, most of the time now, I think I have a good idea of what I'm doing before I do it. So I'm not just like going with the flow in this fully organic flow thing. So it depends on the piece, though. It all depends on what you're making. Am I running out of oxygen? Or something feels weird.
No, it looks good.
Yeah, raise it a little bit. Oh yeah, maybe it's on my regulator again. I mean, I'll deal with it. So I said this for the students yesterday, and I think everybody liked it, so say this to you guys, but mostly why I do sculpture and why I've fallen into sculpture is because I know how I am as a glass blower. You got to know what your strengths are, what you're good at, what you can do, what you can't do. I'm not good at blowing hollow vessels or forms. I'm not good with symmetry, and I'm really good at making things asymmetrical, so I do sculpting, and that's just how I know. So, I mean, when you're trying to get good and stick out from the community, and it is good to follow what you're good at and use your strengths. Just the fear fact, there were furnish shops in my area, but I mean, I just wanted to, I don't know, it was so much more affordable. You either work for somebody and you go through that apprenticeship, I guess. I mean, it was just affordable because I was 20 years old. I needed a job, and I wanted to do glass, and it seemed that flameworking was so easy. I had, for $1,000, I got set up and I was doing it in my parents' garage. So.
Did you ever find yourself making production work, or did you always just do what you wanted to do?
No, I definitely did production work. I mean, to an extent, production as far as like I would do a little run of 12 of one thing. So the way I got started into it, or started making money, my favorite thing was implosion pendants. So I would make implosion pendants, and then I would go to craft fairs and farmers markets, and I would set up a booth, and I would be super enthusiastic about my little pendants, and it went so well. It did so good that I never got into doing production pipes for that reason. Then when and I did that for 3 years full time. And then I wanted to make sculpture. I wanted to get into another craft fair that I couldn't get into with jewelry. So I did some sculpture, and I got accepted, but I couldn't sell any of the sculpture because it was awful. And it took me so long to do, and every piece cracked, and it was so frustrating for years. So I made money off my pendants. So you had to have a little bread and butter while I invested my time into sculpting. So I say, for example, it was a sea turtle that I was making, and the thing would take me 4 hours, and I could maybe sell it for $50. After 2 years of making that sea turtle, I could make it in a half an hour, and I could sell it for $200. It just because you get better and you get quicker and everything gets tighter and you get a following. So that's how you got to invest your time in yourself.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to just raise your hand, and I'll come over and get your question. Joe, how old were you when you first started getting into furnace work?
19.
So I had somebody ask if you have any interest in experimenting in other types of glass art, like maybe Venetian work or anything other than sculpting.
Yeah, actually, I bought a house in Colorado this past summer, and I'm working on. I just got a little home studio set up, but I'm going to be working on a stained glass piece for my house, and it'll be like a 4-section, and I'll have flame-worked components along in it. So I'm really excited to start on that. Yeah. No. No, I kind of. This one's not. I didn't want to do anything too intense for this. It's limited time. 2 hours isn't a lot, and so I'm pretty comfortable with knowing what goes where on this guy. It's not my best one by far, but. I can't hear you. Yeah.
So Joe, do you maybe want to talk about your recent collaborations with Peter Muller?
My which collaborations? Just.
Oh, the ones on the postcard. I apologize.
Oh yeah, okay. So me and
Not
Peter,
recent.
I used to live in Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, and then me and Peter worked together. I met Peter out doing craft fairs, and he did furnace glass. And then we were just really good buds, and we were just trying to collaborate. This was our whole thing, and then we hit this kind of series of. We were doing these. He was doing these furnace-blown bowls, and I was doing all these sea life and creatures and animals, and we would use Hextol, and we would combine the two into this installation that would go on your wall, and it just was such a good fit, and we were best buds that we just did that for about 4 years, and it was awesome. Yeah. And now he's flame working and doing really, really well.
Joe, we have a student that's interested in knowing the theme of your mosaic you're creating for your house.
Oh, it's gonna be like a Colorado mountain theme, and then with like, it's gonna go to like a river, forest, mountain, sky, and then like space.
Joe, before you were talking about like how glass has its limitations, and a student wants to know, what do you feel is the biggest limitation in glass?
Just the engineering of it, and like glass is super strong and it's stronger than steel, but it's more brittle. So there's ways that glass can be used that just work better for it. Where the brittle factor is a huge limitation of like, can't have something big with a little, where you can in metal, and a little wire can hold up something big and it's not going to break on you. So I think the biggest limitation is just the way it is, I mean, just its characteristics, but it has other characteristics that are way cooler than metal,
Joe, some people are wondering what kind of shears you use in the flame shop.
Carlo Donia. Shears and diamond shears.
We have someone asking what your favorite borosilicate color is, or just your favorite glass color in general.
North Star Yellow.
Oh.
That's like the honey color I use for all my honey stuff. It just works so nice. It works like clear. It's one of the cheapest colors. And yeah.
Someone's asking, while you're attaching solid bits to your hollow piece, do you ever find that there's cracking issues?
I mean, that's why I'm going over every connection with that mini torch. Because after you make that seal, it's really, you gotta really go back into it. If you don't, then you're gonna have cracking issues. So you gotta make sure every connection is 100%. If you don't, then you're gonna have cracking issues, and then that's gonna even cause more problems. But if you make sure that everything is all one piece, fluid piece of glass, that's where you wanna be. So even like what I'm doing right here, it's not essential. Like the weld is good, but I want to clean it up and get it as nice as it can be. So it's really hard to do that without adding the brace.
So Joe, do you have any hobbies outside of glass blowing other than scuba diving?
Yep. Hobbies other than scuba diving, travel, learning how to play the ukulele. So, Spanish, learning Spanish. Now, I'm pretty good at Spanish, but really trying to learn it. So this is why I like to sculpt on the piece, because if you pre-make that fin, it's going to be really hard to make sure that's exactly the size that looks right. So I always like to have the capability to tweak it if I want it a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, or but some things you can't do like that. Some things you want to be a really detailed part, so you gotta pre-make that part completely. All depends on what you're making.
We have somebody asking what your goals are. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
my goodness.
Are you at where you want to be, or do you see yourself doing something else?
10 years from now, I will be celebrating 10 years from you asking me this question. No, I don't know. Man, I just go with it every day. I mean, I have goals, sure. I mean, more installation stuff. The stuff I did for, like, the Children's Hospital with Peter was, like, some of my favorite, most meaningful work. So that's, like, yeah, okay, yeah. You got the point where I'm making a good living out of art. So, yeah, I got to get to that next level of what I'm really here to do. You know, yeah, artists, what are we here to do as artists? You know, inspire people. I'm really lucky that a lot of people have told me that I inspire them. It's probably the most meaningful thing I've done so far. Cool, he's on. All right, let's give him a little twist and then call him a shark. Tool? Butter knife, yeah. That was the only tool that I still had. That was from my first day, like my butter knife that I stole from my mom's kitchen. And I lost it recently. And then my mom looked up on eBay and found the same type of knife for me. I was really happy. Because you get so used to like the flexibility and all it's really specific, the butter knife, but I love it. That's a little hole just to relieve the pressure. I want to clean up that face a little bit, so I'm going to add up honey back here so I can take them off the face, clean that up. What's that? No, that would be a waste of money. But I wouldn't work, depending on the color. If this was a transparent color, I would feel comfortable working it like this. If it was a really complex, thick tube pull of like a vac stack or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily do it like that. The color, you gotta know your colors and know which ones are more temperamental and which ones are shocky. So I wanted to angle his head just a little differently. What's that? I guess, if maybe I just do my best. I mean, I have I can break down shapes really good in my head, and I'm not the best though, so I do it as good as I can do it. It depends what it is or how difficult of a piece it is. I like to draw. I sketch out everything I do, but I don't ever like over sketch it. I sketch out the basic shapes I need to make, and I let detail come in later. So if I'm designing a piece like a big collaboration with Banjo, most of that's not figured out. We have a good direction. We have the thing sketched out pretty far, but a lot of the magic happens in the moment when you get to you finish one step and then you gotta go to the next step and you gotta really think about it. It's hard to think of that stuff in the beforehand or have everything planned out ahead of time. And then, I think a lot of times you like the magic of your piece could be if you sketch it too much, be on the paper and it's not necessarily in the glass. So, or if you do it sketch too intense, then you're so married on that design, and if you can't match it in glass, then it doesn't work, or it's not as good. I don't know, I like to let things happen really organically. And a lot of times when I have a problem and have to figure that out, the piece takes a turn and it's sometimes way cooler. And if you let that problem, just be part of the piece. That every piece you're going to have a little issue for the most part. So if you just let that work, try to work that to your advantage. Try to let that piece, that problem be a positive. I mean, I said most pieces. No. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for having me here.